Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the center of the massive chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. The Galactic Council's meeting hall stretched out before him like a cathedral made of crystal and light. 12 towering seats surrounded him in a perfect circle, each one occupied by a different alien species. The air hummed with translation devices, turning alien languages into words he could understand. Jake had been to this place many times before. Each visit had been filled with hope and promise. Today felt different. The aliens sat stiffly in their seats and none of them would look directly at him. Even the usually friendly crystalline delegates kept their glowing eyes turned away. Dr. Lisa Carter stood beside him, her tablet clutched tightly in her hands. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Earth's application for full membership in the Galactic Council was supposed to be approved today. Humanity had done everything asked of them. They had fought the Void Swarm and won. They had shared their technology freely. They had proven themselves worthy partners in building a better galaxy. The largest seat belonged to Counselor Vextar of the Hegemony. The creature looked like a cross between a lizard and a mantis, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow in the dim light. When Vextar spoke, his voice carried the weight of authority that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Admiral Morrison, Vextar began, his voice echoing through the chamber. Dr. Carter, you have come here seeking full membership for your species in our council. Jake nodded. We have, Counselor. Humanity has fulfilled every requirement. We've proven our commitment to peace and our value as allies. A sound that might have been laughter came from one of the other council members. The Zephyrian delegate, a being made of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, flickered with what Jake had learned meant amusement. Your commitment to peace, Vextar repeated slowly. Yes, let us discuss that. Your recent victory against the Void Swarm was indeed impressive. However, your methods were concerning. Lisa stepped forward. Our methods saved 17 worlds and over 3 billion lives. The Void Swarm had never been defeated before. Human tactics succeeded where Council forces had failed for decades. Your tactics, another Council member interjected. This one was a mollusk, a slug-like creature the size of a small building. You used their own young against them. You turned their reproduction cycle into a weapon. You poisoned entire star systems to deny them resources. Jake felt his jaw tighten. We did what was necessary to stop an enemy that was consuming entire civilizations. Every action we took was designed to end the war quickly and save lives. And that, Vextar said, rising from his seat, is precisely the problem. Your species approaches conflict with a level of ruthlessness that disturbs us greatly. You do not simply defeat enemies, you destroy them so completely that they cannot recover. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of machinery. Jake looked around at the 12 council members, reading the decision in their alien faces before Vextar spoke the words. After careful consideration, Vextar announced, the Galactic Council has voted unanimously. Humanity is hereby classified as a Category 5 aggressive species. Your expansion beyond your home system poses an unacceptable risk to galactic peace. Lisa's tablet clattered to the floor. You can't be serious. We saved the galaxy. We followed every law, every regulation. You saved the galaxy using methods that demonstrate why your species cannot be trusted with unlimited freedom, Vextar replied. Effective immediately, humanity will be contained within the Sol system. A quantum barrier will be erected to prevent faster-than-light travel beyond your system's edge. Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. You're making us prisoners in our own home. We are protecting the galaxy from a species that sees total annihilation as an acceptable solution to problems, Vextar said. Your colonies on Mars, Luna, and the outer planets will remain functional. Your civilization can continue to grow within the boundaries of your system, but humanity will not be permitted to spread further into Council space. 4 billion humans live outside the Sol system, Lisa said, her voice shaking. Our colonies, our research stations, our trade posts. They will be relocated to your home system within 1 standard year, Vextar declared. Transport will be provided. Any humans who refuse relocation will be considered fugitives and dealt with accordingly. Jake took a step forward. Around the chamber, alien guards moved their hands to their weapons. He stopped but did not back down. You're afraid of us, he said quietly. That's what this is really about. We're not like you. We don't spend centuries debating while worlds burn. We act, we solve problems, and that scares you. Your species has existed for less than 1,000,000 years, the mollusk counselor said. In that time, you have fought more wars than most species fight in 10 million years. You have driven other species on your own world to extinction. You create weapons of mass destruction for sport. We also create art, music, and literature, Lisa protested. We explore, we learn, we grow. We've made mistakes, but we've learned from them. Have you? Vextar asked. Your own history shows a pattern of violence followed by brief periods of peace, then more violence. You cannot help yourselves. It is in your nature. Jake felt the weight of billions of human lives pressing down on him. Everything they had worked for, everything they had sacrificed to earn their place among the stars, was being stripped away because aliens were afraid of human efficiency. The barrier is already being constructed, Vextar continued. It will be complete within 72 hours. I suggest you use that time to contact your government and prepare for the transition. And if we refuse? Jake asked. The chamber grew even quieter. Vextar's yellow eyes fixed on Jake with the intensity of a predator. Then you will discover why the Council has maintained peace for 12 million years, Vextar said. We have weapons your species has never imagined. We have allies you have never seen. Do not test our resolve, Admiral. Jake nodded slowly, his expression calm despite the fury building inside him. He had commanded fleets against impossible odds. He had stared down the Void Swarm's hive queens. But he had never felt anger like this before. It was cold and patient and absolutely certain. You've made a grave mistake, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Humanity doesn't forget, and we certainly don't forgive. Vextar settled back into his seat with what might have been satisfaction. Perhaps. But that is no longer the galaxy's concern. Guards escort our guests to their transport. As alien soldiers moved to surround them, Jake caught Lisa's eye. She looked devastated, but he saw something else there too. The same cold anger that was growing in his own chest. Humanity had been betrayed by the very beings they had fought to protect. The Council thought they were containing a dangerous species. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. 6 months had passed since the quantum barrier sealed humanity inside the Sol system. The underground command center on Luna Base buzzed with activity 24 hours a day. What had once been a simple research facility now served as the heart of something the Galactic Council never expected. Organized human resistance. General Patricia. Hayes stood before a massive holographic display showing the Sol system. Red dots marked the barrier's energy signatures, a prison wall made of pure quantum force. Blue dots showed human ships and stations all now trapped inside their own home system. But Patricia wasn't looking at what they had lost. She was planning how to take it all back. Status report, she said to the room full of officers and scientists. Captain Ryan Brooks stepped forward first. He had been Earth's liaison to the Council for 8 years before the betrayal. Now his knowledge of alien politics and technology made him invaluable to the resistance. The Council believes we're beaten, Ryan said. Their communications suggest they think we'll spend the next few decades accepting our situation and eventually become a peaceful, contained species. Patricia almost smiled. They don't know us very well, do they? Not at all, Ryan agreed. I've compiled detailed files on all 12 Council species. Their homeworlds, their weaknesses, their dependencies. The hegemony controls the quantum barrier technology, but they need crystalline computing cores to maintain it. The Zephyrians provide the energy, but their power comes from crystal farms that can be disrupted. Every species has critical vulnerabilities. Dr. Alex Turner, head of the science division, raised his hand. We've made significant progress on the barrier analysis. The quantum field isn't just a wall. It's a complex network of energy patterns that we can map and predict. Can you break it? Patricia asked. Alex grinned. Better than that. We can control it. The Council gave us 6 months to study their most advanced technology up close. They might as well have handed us the blueprints. Major Kate Sullivan approached the table carrying a secure tablet. Our sleeper agents are in position across Council space. When the barrier activated, we had 300 humans on various worlds who couldn't get home. Instead of trying to rescue them, we recruited them. Patricia nodded approvingly. The decision to leave those people behind had been painful, but necessary. What's their status? They've integrated into local populations and established communication networks. Agent Maria Santos on Hegemonia Prime has been working as a maintenance technician for their orbital defense grid. Agent Dan Peters has access to the Zephyrian crystal farms through a transport company. We have people in places the Council never imagined. Dr. Turner pulled up another display. We've also been busy here. Every piece of Council technology we ever traded for has been completely reverse engineered. Their quantum computers, their energy weapons, their faster-than-light drives. We understand it all now. More than understand, added Dr. Nina Walsh from the Computer Systems Division. We've improved it. Human innovation combined with Council technology has produced some interesting results. Patricia walked around the holographic display, studying the quantum barrier from every angle. Show me. Nina's fingers danced across her control panel. The hologram shifted to show a sleek ship design unlike anything humanity had built before. This is the Terra's Wrath. It uses modified Council technology to phase through quantum fields. The barrier that's supposed to keep us in can't detect it. How many can we build? Patricia asked. We have materials for 50 ships. Each one can carry a full strike team and enough equipment to establish a forward base. Nina paused. But that's just the beginning. We've developed something else. The display changed again, showing what looked like a computer virus rendered in 3 dimensions. It moved like a living thing, adapting and changing as it spread through simulated alien networks. We call it the Babel virus. Nina continued. It's specifically designed to target alien quantum computing systems. Once it infects a network, it corrupts their translation protocols, their navigation systems, their communications, everything. Ryan whistled softly. That could cripple multiple species simultaneously. That's the idea, Patricia said. The Council thinks they're dealing with an aggressive but primitive species. They have no idea what we're really capable of. Captain Brooks pulled up intelligence files on his own display. The Council's biggest weakness is their confidence. They've ruled the galaxy for so long that they can't imagine anyone challenging them effectively. They're not even taking security precautions. Because they think we're locked up, Kate added. They've actually reduced their military readiness in some sectors. They believe their own propaganda about containing the human threat. Patricia studied the faces around her. These people had lost everything when the barrier went up. Their careers, their homes, their dreams of exploring the galaxy. But instead of giving up, they had channeled that loss into something the Council would never expect. Cold, calculated planning. What about the other trapped species? She asked. Ryan brought up files on several alien races. The Council has done this before. There are at least 6 other species locked in their home systems for various reasons. Most of them accepted their fate decades or centuries ago. But some still have populations that remember freedom. Potential allies, Patricia mused. Or at least people who won't oppose us when we start hitting Council targets, Kate said. The galaxy isn't as united behind the Council as they pretend. There are a lot of species who would love to see the current power structure collapse. Dr. Turner cleared his throat. There's something else. We've been monitoring Council communications through the quantum networks. They're planning something called the Unity Protocol. What's that? Patricia asked. A permanent quantum lock on our system, instead of the current barrier. They want to install something that would make escape literally impossible. The technology would rewrite local spacetime to prevent faster-than-light travel permanently. The room fell silent. Patricia felt her jaw tighten. When? 18 months from now. They need time to build the equipment, but once it's active, we'd be trapped forever. Even if we figured out how to break it, the attempt would destroy our entire system. Patricia nodded slowly. The Council wasn't just keeping humanity contained. They were planning to make the prison permanent and inescapable. It was a death sentence disguised as protective custody. Then we don't have 18 months, she said. We have 6 months to prepare and 12 months to execute. After that, it won't matter what we've learned or what we've built. She turned to face the entire command center. Dozens of officers, scientists, and analysts looked back at her with expressions of grim determination. The Council thinks they're protecting the galaxy from humanity, Patricia announced. They're about to learn the difference between humanity contained and humanity unleashed. We're not just breaking out of this prison. We're going to tear down everything they've built and remake the galaxy in our image. Dr. Walsh smiled coldly. They wanted to see how dangerous we could be when we're cornered. I think they're going to get their wish. Patricia looked back at the quantum barrier display. 6 months ago, it had been a wall that crushed their dreams. Now it was a temporary obstacle before the Council learned what human revenge really looked like. Commander Pete Jackson felt the Terra's wrath vibrate around him as the ship approached the quantum barrier. 6 months of preparation had led to this moment. Behind him sat 12 of humanity's best soldiers, each one volunteers who knew they might not survive the next few hours. In the cargo bay, equipment that could change the course of galactic history waited to be deployed. "Barrier contact in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from the pilot's seat. "Quantum phase generators are online." Pete gripped his command chair as the ship entered the energy field that had kept humanity prisoner for 6 months. The Council believed their quantum barrier was impenetrable. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Phase shift initiated," Amy announced. "We're passing through." The ship shimmered like a mirage, its molecular structure shifting to match the quantum frequency of the barrier itself. To the Council's sensors, the Terra's wrath simply didn't exist. Within seconds, they were through and flying free in interstellar space. "We're out," Pete said quietly. "Signal Luna Base. Operation Liberation is go. 8 light-years away on Hegemonia Prime." Agent Maria Santos received the coded message while pretending to perform routine maintenance on Orbital Defense Platform 7. She had spent 6 months learning every detail of the hegemony's military systems. Now it was time to put that knowledge to use. Maria opened her maintenance kit and pulled out what looked like a standard diagnostic tool. In reality, it was a quantum virus delivery system designed by Dr. Nina Walsh herself. Maria connected it to the platform's main computer core and uploaded the payload. The Babel virus spread through the hegemony's defense network like wildfire. Within minutes, every orbital platform around their homeworld was receiving conflicting data. Navigation systems thought they were in different star systems. Communication arrays broadcast random noise. Weapon targeting computers couldn't distinguish between friendly and enemy vessels. In the planet's military command center, alarms began, blaring as display screens filled with error messages in dozens of different languages. General Kexavor, the hegemony's supreme military commander, stared in confusion as his defensive grid reported impossible readings. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," replied his aide. "All our systems are malfunctioning simultaneously. It's like they're speaking different languages." Kexavor never got to hear the response. Teleportation signatures appeared throughout the command center as human soldiers materialized from nowhere. The hegemony had developed personal teleportation technology centuries ago, but humans had improved it beyond recognition. Instead of requiring massive energy expenditures, human teleporters could operate from small, portable units. "Hegemony forces, stand down," announced the human squad leader, his weapon trained on General Kexavor. "Your orbital defenses have been neutralized. Your communications are offline. Surrender and no one needs to die." Kexavor reached for his sidearm and found himself staring down the barrels of a dozen human weapons. The reputation for human ruthlessness that had gotten them contained was about to be proven accurate. Across the galaxy, Agent Dan Peters was implementing his own part of the plan. The Zephyrian crystal farm stretched across 3 moons, each one producing the exotic crystals that powered the Council's faster-than-light communication network. Dan had spent months working as a transport supervisor, learning the locations of every critical facility. Now he moved through Crystal Farm Beta with military precision, placing shaped charges at specific points throughout the crystalline structures. The crystals weren't just communication devices, they were quantum entangled with similar crystals throughout Council space. Destroying them wouldn't just eliminate local communications, it would cascade through the entire network. Dan activated the first charge and watched thousands of years of careful crystal cultivation vanish in a burst of white light. The explosion sent quantum shockwaves through subspace, severing communication links between Council worlds light-years away. On the Council's main communication hub, technicians watched in horror as their galaxy-spanning network began to collapse. World after world went dark as the quantum cascade effect destroyed crystal arrays across dozens of star systems. Dr. Nina Walsh monitored the progress from Luna Base, watching as her carefully designed viruses spread through Council networks. The Babel virus was just the beginning. She had created specialized programs for each species, targeting their unique technological weaknesses. "Hegemony defense grid is down," she reported to General Hayes. "Zephyrian communications are offline. Crystalline computing cores are experiencing cascading failures." And our people? Patricia asked. All teams report successful insertion. The Council's response time is negligible because they can't coordinate between species anymore. Back in space, Commander Jackson's ship approached its next target, a Council monitoring station that tracked all ship movements through the sector. The station's crew of mixed alien species was completely unprepared for human assault tactics. Human soldiers didn't just attack from one direction. They materialized inside the station using portable teleporters, emerged from stealth fields that made them invisible to alien sensors, and coordinated their assault with precision that shocked their opponents. Station secured, Jackson reported. Council surveillance network in this sector is neutralized. Similar reports came in from across Council space. Humans who had been considered trapped and helpless were systematically dismantling the infrastructure that held the galactic government together. Every communication relay, every monitoring station, every critical facility faced swift and overwhelming assault. On Nexus Prime, the Council's central station, emergency sessions were being called, but the representatives couldn't coordinate their response. Half of them couldn't communicate with their homeworlds. The other half were receiving conflicting reports about attacks that seemed impossible. Counselor Vextar tried to contact the Hegemony's military command and received only static. His communications with other council members were fragmentary at best. The galaxy-spanning network that had allowed them to govern for millions of years was collapsing in real time. "How are they doing this?" demanded the crystalline representative, its energy form flickering with distress. "The quantum barrier is intact. Humans are still contained." "Apparently not," Vextar replied grimly. "Send word to all council fleets. Find these human forces and destroy them." But the message never reached its destination. The communication network that would have carried it was already dead, killed by explosions on distant crystal farms and viruses spreading through quantum computers. Colonel Dan Peters, having completed his mission at the crystal farms, received new orders from Luna Base. Phase 2 of Operation Liberation was about to begin. The humans weren't just attacking Council infrastructure. They were preparing to liberate every species the Council had subjugated over the millennia. "Target confirmed," Dan reported as his team approached a detention facility on Gamma Centauri 3rd. 50,000 political prisoners from a dozen different species. Most of them have been here for decades. "Free them," came the reply from General Hayes. "Give them weapons and transport. Let them settle their own scores with the Council." The detention facility's guards never saw the attack coming. Human stealth technology had advanced far beyond anything the Council possessed. By the time the IBMA facility's alarms began to sound, every guard post was already neutralized and the prison doors were opening. Thousands of aliens who had been forgotten by the galaxy stumbled into freedom, many of them seeing sunlight for the first time in years. When human soldiers handed them weapons and offered transport to Council worlds, the response was immediate and enthusiastic. "The prisoners are armed and motivated," Dan reported. "They're requesting transport to their homeworlds to begin liberation operations." Patricia smiled coldly as she reviewed the tactical displays. In less than 12 hours, humanity had gone from contained prisoners to the greatest threat the Galactic Council had ever faced. And this was only the beginning. "Phase 3 is authorized," she announced. "Time to show the Council what happens when you cage a species that builds better cages." Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the newly completed warship Retribution, watching as Council worlds burned in the distance. 3 weeks had passed since Operation Liberation began, and the galaxy was learning what human warfare truly meant. This wasn't the chaotic violence the Council expected from a primitive species. This was systematic, calculated destruction designed to completely eliminate the enemy's ability to fight back. "Target acquired," reported Captain Linda Foster from the weapons station. "The Archive of Eternal Knowledge is in range." Jake studied the massive structure floating in space before them. The archive contained 12 million years of Council technological secrets, the accumulated knowledge of dozens of civilizations. Most species would either destroy it in rage or leave it alone out of respect for knowledge. Humans had a third option. "Begin download procedures," Jake ordered. "I want every byte of information copied to our drives before we move to the next phase." The Archive's guardians, a species of energy beings called the Eternal Watchers, tried to resist the human intrusion. Their ancient defensive systems activated, sending waves of force that would have destroyed any Council ship. The Retribution shields, built from reverse-engineered and improved Council technology, absorbed the attacks without strain. "Download complete," Linda reported. 12 million years of galactic scientific advancement now in human hands. "Transmit copies to every rebel world and resistance group in the galaxy," Jake commanded. Knowledge belongs to everyone, not just the Council. Within hours, species that had been kept primitive by Council restrictions suddenly had access to technologies beyond their wildest dreams. Worlds that had been conquered centuries ago began building weapons that rivaled anything in the Council arsenals. On Hegemonia Prime, General Kexivor faced a situation no military commander had experienced in Council history. His planet's defenses were completely offline. His communication network was destroyed, and human forces seemed to appear wherever they wanted with no warning. "Sir," reported his aide, "we're receiving surrender offers from 12 different sectors. Local commanders can't coordinate resistance without the communication network." Kexivor slammed his 4 fists on the command table. "How many humans are there?" "Our intelligence suggested they had fewer than 50 ships." "Our intelligence was wrong," the aide replied. "They're not using large fleets. They're using small, highly mobile units that can appear anywhere instantly. We can't track them, we can't predict them, and we can't stop them." What Kexivor didn't understand was that humans had completely reimagined space warfare. Instead of massive fleets that took time to move between systems, they used networks of small, fast ships that could teleport instantly across vast distances. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a space station and enough stealth capability to remain undetected, until they chose to attack, Commander. Steve Miller coordinated the liberation of the slave, worlds from his mobile command ship. The Council had conquered dozens of species over the millennia, reducing them to labor forces and resource providers. Now those same species were rising up with human weapons and human training. "The Corvani have secured their homeworld," Steve reported to Admiral Morrison. "They're requesting permission to join the attack on the mollusk colonies." "Granted," Jake replied. "The more species we liberate, the more allies we gain. The Council's empire is dissolving from within." Dr. Rachel Torres worked from a captured Council research station, analyzing the technological secrets they had stolen from the archive. What she found confirmed humanity's worst suspicions about their former allies. "Admiral," she called, her voice tight with anger. "You need to see this. The Council has been deliberately keeping other species primitive. They had faster-than-light technology 12 million years ago, but they've been sharing inferior versions with member species to maintain their technological advantage." Jake studied the data Rachel had uncovered. The Council hadn't just been ruling the galaxy. They had been actively sabotaging the development of other species to prevent any challenge to their authority. "They've been lying to everyone," Rachel continued. "The hegemony could have had instantaneous transportation centuries ago. The crystalline beings could have developed consciousness transfer technology. The Council has been holding back galactic civilization for millions of years." "Transmit this to every liberated world," Jake ordered. "Let them see exactly what the Council has stolen from them." The revelation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Species that had loyally served the Council for millennia suddenly understood they had been deliberately kept weak and dependent. Rebellion erupted on 100 worlds as the truth of Council manipulation became clear. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Brooks led a strike team against the Council's most secure facility, the Quantum Forge, where the Unity Protocol devices were being constructed. The Council's plan to permanently imprison humanity was only months away from completion. "Security is heavier than expected," Ryan reported as his team approached the facility. "They've got 3 species worth of guards and defensive systems." "Then we use 3 species worth of solutions," replied his lieutenant, Sarah Kim. The human assault on the Quantum Forge demonstrated everything that made their species terrifying to the Council. They didn't just attack the facility. They turned it against itself. Human hackers took control of the security systems and used them to attack the guards. Human engineers redirected the facility's power systems to overload the defensive barriers. Human soldiers used the facility's own teleportation network to appear inside secured areas. Within hours, the most secure installation in Council space was under human control, and the Unity Protocol devices were being systematically destroyed. Back on Nexus Prime, The surviving council members huddled in an emergency session. Of the 12 original species, 3 had already surrendered unconditionally. 2 more had retreated to their core systems and cut off all communication with the council. The remaining 7 were desperately trying to coordinate a response to threats they couldn't track or predict. The humans have disabled our communication networks, stolen our technological secrets, liberated our labor worlds, and turned half the galaxy against us, summarized the mollusk representative. How is this possible? They're supposed to be contained. Counselor Vextar's yellow eyes had lost their confident glow. We underestimated them. We thought we were dealing with an aggressive but primitive species. Instead, we were facing a civilization that had learned to improve everything they touched. What do we do? Asked the Zephyrian delegate. They're systematically dismantling everything we've built over millions of years. We negotiate, Vextar said quietly. We offer them membership in the council in exchange for ending their attacks. After what we did to them. The crystalline representative flickered with distress. They'll never trust us again. Then we offer them control of the council, Vextar replied. Complete authority over galactic governance. It's the only way to stop this. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The species that had ruled the galaxy for 12 million years were preparing to surrender to a race they had known for less than 50 years. Admiral Morrison received the council's surrender offer while reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Human forces had liberated over 200 worlds in 3 weeks. The council's technological secrets were spreading to every species in the galaxy. The carefully maintained balance of power that had kept aliens subjugated was collapsing. They want to negotiate, Captain Foster reported. Full council authority in exchange for ending our offensive operations. Jake looked out at the stars, thinking of the quantum barrier that had caged his species just weeks ago. The council had tried to contain humanity because they feared human aggression. Now they were learning the difference between human aggression and human efficiency. Send them a message, he said. Tell them we'll consider their offer. After we finish what we started. The war wasn't over yet. But the galaxy was already changing, and there was no force in the universe that could change it back. The emergency council session took place aboard a cloaked command vessel that moved constantly through space, trying to avoid human detection. What had once been the most powerful governing body in the galaxy now resembled refugees fleeing from an unstoppable force. Of the 12 original council species, only 7 remained at the negotiating table. The others had either surrendered completely or retreated so far into their home territories that they might as well have ceased to exist. Counselor Vextar looked older than his 800 years as he studied the tactical displays. Red markers showed human forces throughout council space. Blue markers indicated liberated worlds that were now actively fighting against their former rulers. Yellow markers represented council forces that had simply stopped responding to orders. Status report, Vextar said, though he dreaded the answer. The Corvani have retaken their entire home sector and are moving against mollusk colony worlds, reported his aide. The Deltarian rebellion has spread to 47 systems. The humans have established forward bases in all major sectors, and our remaining fleets can't coordinate responses without the communication networks. Admiral Jake Morrison's holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber, transmitted through quantum channels that humanity now controlled. The human looked calm and professional, as if he were discussing trade agreements rather than the destruction of galactic civilization. Counselor Vextar, Jake said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Admiral Morrison, Vextar replied, trying to maintain some dignity despite his desperate situation. We are prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict. This isn't a conflict, Jake corrected him. This is pest control. You created a problem when you caged humanity, and now we're solving it permanently. The bluntness of the statement sent ripples of fear through the remaining council members. They had expected negotiation, compromise, perhaps even mercy. Instead, they faced the cold efficiency that had made humanity so dangerous in the first place. What are your terms? Asked the crystalline representative, its energy form flickering with anxiety. Jake looked around the chamber, studying each alien face with the same attention he had once given to enemy fleet positions. Complete dissolution of the Galactic Council. Immediate withdrawal of all council forces to your home systems. Preparations for the containment period to be paid in technology and resources. And in return? Vexter asked. You get to continue existing, Jake replied simply. The alternative is what happened to the mollusk colonies last week. Everyone in the chamber knew what had happened to the mollusk colonies. Humanity hadn't just defeated them. They had systematically dismantled every piece of mollusk technology, relocated every mollusk population to a single world, and eliminated their ability to spaceflight for the next 1,000 years. It wasn't genocide, but it was the complete end of the mollusk civilization as a galactic power. Dr. Lisa Carter appeared beside Admiral Morrison's image, carrying a tablet that contained humanity's formal demands. She looked different than she had 6 months ago during the original Council betrayal. The diplomat's gentle demeanor had been replaced by the stern authority of a conqueror. The new Galactic Compact, Lisa announced, will establish humanity as the supreme authority for all interstellar affairs. Member species will retain autonomy over their home systems but will accept human oversight for all external activities. You're, asking us to become your subjects, the Zephyrian delegate protested. We're telling you that you already are, Jake corrected. The only question is whether you want to accept it gracefully or learn the hard way like the hegemony did. Vextar's aide leaned forward to whisper something in his leader's ear. The hegemony's military resistance had lasted exactly 4 days before their entire fleet was either destroyed or captured. General Kexivor now sat in a human detention facility, waiting to be tried for war crimes against liberated populations. The compact guarantees certain rights, Lisa continued, as if the threats weren't necessary. Freedom of movement within assigned sectors, protection from external threats, access to improved technologies, fair representation in the new galactic government, under human leadership, added the mollusk representative bitterly. Under competent leadership, Jake replied. Your council spent 12 million years maintaining the status quo and keeping other species primitive. In 6 months, humanity has liberated more worlds and advanced more civilizations than you did in 12 millennia. It was true, and everyone in the chamber knew it. The technological secrets humanity had stolen from the archive were now spreading throughout the galaxy. Species that had been limited to primitive spacecraft for millions of years were suddenly building vessels that could cross the galaxy in days. Worlds that had been kept at pre-industrial levels were rapidly developing advanced manufacturing capabilities. The human approach to governance will be different, Lisa explained. Instead of maintaining control through artificial limitations, we will encourage development and expansion. Every species will have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Under human supervision, Vextar said. Under human protection, Jake corrected. You've seen what happens to species that oppose us. You've also seen what happens to species that work with us. The choice is yours. Captain Ryan Brooks materialized in the chamber using human teleportation technology, causing several council members to reach for weapons they no longer carried. He approached the negotiating table with a confident stride that announced humanity's complete control of the situation. The vote needs to happen now, Ryan announced. Our liberation fleets are approaching the last council strongholds. In 6 hours, there won't be enough of your government left to surrender. Vextar looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. The crystalline representative's energy form was dim with defeat. The Zephyrian delegate's crystal shell had lost its usual glow. The remaining species looked like beings who had already accepted their fate. If we agree to your terms, Vextar asked, what guarantees do we have that humanity won't simply eliminate us once our usefulness ends? Jake's expression remained cold and professional. You have the same guarantee you gave us when you put up the quantum barrier. None. The difference is that we keep our promises. And what promises are you making? Asked the mollusk representative. Survival, Jake replied. Continued existence as functioning civilizations. The opportunity to contribute to a galactic society that actually grows and develops instead of stagnating under artificial limits. Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward with the formal surrender documents. The vote must be unanimous. Any species that refuses will be treated as hostile and dealt with accordingly. The silence in the chamber stretched for long minutes. Outside the ship's windows, stars that had once been governed by council authority now flew human flags or belonged to newly liberated species. The galaxy had already changed. The only question was whether the council would adapt or be swept aside. I call for a vote, Vextar announced finally. All in favor of accepting the new Galactic Compact and recognizing human authority over interstellar affairs. One by one, the remaining council members raised their hands, tentacles or energy signatures in surrender. The vote was unanimous as it had to be. The alternative was extinction. Jake nodded as the formal surrender was recorded. The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved. The new Galactic Authority will be established within 30 days. Transport will be provided to relocate your governments to your assigned sectors. Is there anything else? Vextar asked, his voice hollow with defeat. Yes, Jake replied, his tone carrying the weight of absolute authority. You wanted to see how dangerous humanity could be when we were cornered. Congratulations, you succeeded beyond your wildest nightmares. The transmission ended, leaving the former council members alone with the reality of their new situation. They had ruled the galaxy for 12 million years through careful manipulation and artificial limitations. Now they would learn to survive in a universe where humanity set the rules. Admiral Morrison looked out at the stars from the bridge of his flagship, watching as human vessels moved to secure the last council installations. The species that had once considered humans too aggressive to join their ranks now found themselves subjects of the very beings they had sought to contain. The galaxy would be different under human leadership. It would be more dangerous, more chaotic, and infinitely more alive. And if any species ever forgot the price of opposing humanity, there would always be the quantum barrier around the former council territories to remind them. The cage had been broken, and the prisoners had become the wardens.